Grab a pint, grab your lineup. We're about to tap into fantasy. Welcome back to Tap Into Fantasy, the podcast with a professional fantasy mind and an amateur beer palate. I'm Lance Gandy. You can find me on X at LG_fantasy. This is the episode where we don't just overreact to one bad week, we professionally overreact. Today we're talking about the busts from week 1, sorting out who's just having a rough night and who might already be auditioning for your league's waiver wire. After that, I'll go over some priority waiver ads. Then we'll dive into every fantasy relevant player in Thursday night's clash between the Commanders and the Packers. No beer review on this one, so feel free to review your own. I'm sure you reviewed several on the wonderful week 1 Sunday. Before I make you sad all over again, rehashing the busts, let's have a toast. May the best drafts of your past be the worst of your future. Let's tap in. Okay, throughout the NFL season, I'll have shorter shows on Tuesday going over the busts, waiver ads, the Thursday night game, and if there's a rando Friday night game. Then another longer episode on Friday with a full beer review and going over 2 players I like and 2 players I don't from each position that week. Before we jump into the next part, go ahead and hit subscribe because unlike your kicker, I won't let you down in crunch time. Young Wei Koo just getting strays right here. All right, let's move on to the busts that sunk your lineup faster than your phone battery on NFL Red Zone Sunday. Also, I think they made too big of a deal about the commercials. I mean, that there was like nothing. Like it still showed the games even when it went on commercial. Like that was just a big worry for nothing. I thought that was pretty stupid. All right. Well, let's get into our segment called Quick Hitters.
Quick Hitters.
All right, so I'm going to do some just quick hitting analysis on every bust that happened. All right, so we'll start with Cam Ward. So the game was away against what could be the best defense in the league. The new look offensive line was shaky, but it should get better with Callahan working his magic, more games together, getting some easier matchups. He's only really an option in Superflex leagues this year, and I mean, he'll only be startable in easier matchups. So Dak Prescott, he actually played pretty well, all things considered. He's not going to be a high-end QB option anymore just because he doesn't run really. Just because he's getting up there in age and that hamstring injury last year. But he could be a nice streaming option in good matchups. Joe Burrow. So here's his fantasy points in week 1 the last 2 years. 8.1 and 3.2. He's going to be fine. All right, Tua Tagovailoa. This one was ugly. Tua's turnovers tend to come in bunches, and the Colts defense is definitely improved this year. I mean, he just made some brutal decisions, so I would keep him on the bench, even in 2 QB leagues, until he has a better showing. I mean, he's completely off the streaming radar for now. Like, this could end badly for the entire team and coaching staff if he keeps this up. Like, the vibes are just awful there. So I would stay away from him for now until he has a kind of a show-me game. Sam Darnold. So the 49ers defense is probably borderline top 10 this year, but I mean, he's going to be tough to trust even in 2 QB leagues. He's pretty much a bye week fill-in Superflex leagues only. CJ Stroud. I'm just afraid this is going to be a repeat of last year. He was QB 28 last year. The offensive line looked rough again. The running game isn't going to help him at all. Like, he only has Nico Collins he can trust, and teams can just focus on taking him away. Like, he's really only streamable with the best matchups, and even then, I would make him earn it before starting him. All right, Kenneth Walker. Yeah, his usage is beyond concerning. He only played 21 snaps to Charbonnet's 30, ran less routes, and only had 10 carries to Charb's 12. I mean, we were scared this was going to be like a 55 or 60% Kenneth Walker backfield. It's not even that. He was less than 50. Like, Charbonnet had the 2 minute, the goal line roll. I mean, he looked really good on his touches also. So I'm expecting it to stay like this. So Walker would be more of a flex play on a bad offense with less than 50% of the touches. Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, this one's very similar to Kenneth Walker. It was pretty ugly for him. I mean, he lost kind of like the short yardage and long distance roles to Kareem Hunt and came off on passing downs and in the red zone. He's a borderline flex play if that usage continues. Like, he did seem to have his explosiveness back. So hopefully he can grab a bigger share of the backfield as the year goes on because Kareem Hunt is basically just a plotter at this point. Yeah, the only way they're getting any explosives in the run game is with Pacheco. Yeah, hopefully it gets better as the year goes on. So Nick Chubb, he's going to be the bruiser in the offense that isn't very good and doesn't run block very well. I mean, Dario Gumbawale spelled him on passing downs, and Damian Pierce and Woody Marks also had some touches. Like, he's a borderline flex play, much better in standard leagues. Tyrone Tracy Jr. He had the role I basically expected him to. He got most of the carries and passing downs work, but Cam Scatabo and Devin Singletary took a few touches away from him. He had 5 targets, which is pretty nice, although Scatabo played some passing downs also. He's still just kind of a flex play until we see Scatabo get a bigger snap share. He could easily be a bust in tougher matchups. That offensive line looked really bad. But in PPR, it's a little better because he does get a nice target share. So Tank Bigsby, he just tanked the value for himself and possibly Will Shipley. So he was traded to the Eagles Monday. Neither is really playable without a Saquon injury, and it may be a gross timeshare even if that happened. So this was just a gross trade all around. Jerome Ford is probably droppable. It's obvious the team wants Sampson to be featured on passing downs, and with Quinton Judkins finally signing, Ford will just go back to being a backup with very few touches or traded. There's some rumors out there. Jamar Chase, I'm obviously not worried at all about Chase. He had 9.2 in week 1 last year, and he won the Triple Crown in receiving. So just stick him back out there in week 2. Terry McLaurin, I am a little worried about him. And I was a little worried about him before week 1, just not having much camp time. He had that holdout for the contract. He didn't, have a lot of time to get in football shape, get on the same page with Jaden Daniels. I do kind of think it was more of a Deebo Samuel game against the Giants because they wanted to get the ball out quickly with an elite Giants D-line, but it could be a slow burn with McLaurin. I think he'll be better later in the year. So T. Higgins, I mean, just like with Chase, I'm not worried. The Bengals start off slow. It's just what they do. They only had 23 pass attempts. Like, better days are ahead. So Nico Collins, it seems like if you take him away, this offense just can't function. Like, this offensive line makes it difficult for Stroud to wait for a Nico deep shot. I'm downgrading him a little bit just because the offense looked even worse than I thought it would, but he's still a top 10 receiver rest of year. Cooper Kupp. I mean, I was low on him coming into the year. I thought he looked sort of cooked last year. I don't expect him to become startable this year. He's going to be basically a valuable run blocker for them and catch a few stray targets here and there. So Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, man, it could be a bumpy ride for both of them, just kind of like it was last year. I mean, Jalen Hurts played super conservative with only one deep shot, and too many of his few dropbacks end in scrambles also instead of passes, so you just get so few targets. So I'm downgrading both of them, with Smith more of a flex play and Brown kind of more a boom bust mid wide receiver too. Josh Downs, I still think he's the most talented receiver on the Colts, but they just only think of him as a slot player. I think he could play outside, but they just don't give him that role ever. He doesn't play enough snaps to get a ton of volume. They still consider Michael Pittman the wide receiver one on this team. So Downs is downgraded to basically like a borderline flex play in PPR, almost unplayable in standard. Matthew Golden, it's definitely not the usage for him we thought we'd get. He had a 48% snap share and ran a route on 13 of Love's 23 dropbacks. I mean, he was taken out on run situations for Dontavian Wicks just because of his size and the run blocking. Dobbs led the snaps by far, and Reed led in targets despite only playing 18 snaps. It's really concerning for Golden, and I'm downgrading him. I mean, the guy who had the most snaps on this receiving core was Tucker Kraft. There's just going to be certain game scripts where they run it too much for Golden to see a ton of usage. So he should have some plays schemed up for him in the coming weeks, but I'm still downgrading him. Rashad Bateman, there's nothing too different in his usage. I mean, that was basically his role last year. He's not a start every week kind of guy. He was second in targets on the team, but the Ravens are just so heavily run, and Lamar likes to spread the ball around. Like he's a boom bust bye week fill in basically. Calvin Ridley, he was going up against the defending defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, with a rookie QB, and he still led the team in targets. It was always going to be ugly. I highlighted him in my busts list before the week, so I'm not worried about him going forward. He's gonna have much better days. He might actually be a buy low candidate for managers who thought he would do better in this game. So you could throw out a few trade ideas there. So George Pickens, I thought Pickens was going to be fired up on a new team with a better QB and a contract year, but he just kind of loafed on some routes in this one. Like he had a few deep balls that could have made this day better, but I wasn't that impressed. Like he'll have some big days against some better matchups, but I mean, he's just going to be what he always is, which is very boom bust. Jameson Williams. So this game was what I worried about with Jameson, that Laporta is healthier this year and would steal some of those underneath targets. Like the offense looked disjointed with the new coordinator and offensive line pieces. Although Green Bay has a good defense, he stays in flex territory for me. Xavier Worthy, yeah, definitely big worries here. Like he would be peppered with targets if he can just get a brace and play through the dislocated shoulder he suffered. Surgery's still an option though. Like he could be out for a while with this. Even if he does come back with a brace, like a big hit, he could be out for good. There's no telling how it'll affect just catching the ball. I mean, he's being downgraded in this kind of disjointed, ugly offense with all these question marks. Juwan Jennings. So he also had a shoulder injury. I'm being told that it's not too serious. It's the 49ers, so who the crap knows? Not even their beat reporters know. But it has nothing to do with his camp injury, so hopefully it is not too serious. He still received 5 targets even before leaving early, so I wouldn't be worried. Um, if it is a minor injury, I'd throw him right back into the lineup against the Saints in week 2 if he plays. And Mark Andrews, it was not encouraging. With a 75% snap share, he saw 1 target. Like, the argument for giving him some leeway is that it was a pretty tough matchup with Buffalo. The Ravens only threw the ball 19 times, but this is just going to be a running team. There won't be many throws to go around, so I'll be ranking him probably closer to tight end 10 in the coming weeks. And when Isaiah Likely returns from an ankle injury, I mean, he could fall out of the tight end 1 territory completely. Cade Otton, I mean, you shouldn't have been relying on him anyway in week 1, as he's just a streamer, but he did have an egregious overthrow from Baker that would have been a house call probably. He's a mid-range tight end 2 for now, and he'll be even lower once Godwin comes back. Tyler Higbee, he doesn't even have a high enough snap share or involvement in the offense to be considered for fantasy. Like, none of the tight ends on the Rams do. They just get them all involved, so I wouldn't roster any of them. And David Njoku. Harold Fannin is one of the big names this week, but Njoku still outsnapped him. Njoku had an 84% snap share and 6 targets, so he'll have better games, although Fannin is just another mouth to feed now in this offense. Like, Njoku is a borderline starter going forward on a bad offense. This episode is powered by Dubby Energy. It's my go-to for a clean boost with 0 crash and 0 jitters, whether I'm grinding out drafts or just need that mid-afternoon push. No junk, no guilt, just focus. Hit the link in the description and use promo code TAPINTOFANTASY for 10% off. Dubby brings the energy. You bring the winning picks. All right. Well, I'm not going to have a huge waiver segment every week because everyone and their mother incessantly go over the same players every single week. So I'll quickly just shout out some priority waiver ads. Zach Charbonnet. Chances are he's not available in your league, but on the off chance he is, he would be the top priority. He outsnapped and outtouched Kenneth Walker on a team that should prioritize running the ball. And he's just a good player. Like, I wouldn't blame you if you emptied the bank for him. Another player, I didn't look at his roster percentage, but obviously Keon Coleman would be an easy add. He should be rostered everywhere if he's not. But if he's available, you could easily empty the bank for him too. It looked like he had taken a little bit of a step from last year. So Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, still out another 5 games. Xavier Worthy has a bum shoulder, may need surgery. Travis Kelce had only 4 targets despite both of them missing. Like, Brown is a high priority add. He'll either be the 1B if Worthy is able to fight through that injury with a brace, or he's just the all-out first option if he's gone. Either way, he's worth a pickup. And Dylan Sampson. At the moment, he's the lead back for the Browns with a statue at quarterback that's going to check it down. Like, I like him better in PPR as he probably won't score many touchdowns, and he should keep his passing down role even when Judkins gets up to speed. Quentin Johnston. So it's been a roller coaster with him. So he was historically awful in his rookie year, then simply like below average last year. He looked even more polished in week 1. Like, he's the deep passing option for this team, and he gets also a few schemed short passes just to show off his yak ability. Like, he should be a boom bust for the year because he's He's kind of either the second or third target on the team, but I mean, the boom weeks could be big. So Cedric Tillman, he was one of my sleepers coming into the year too. Like he should push Judy for the target lead most weeks on this team. The team loves him and they want to get him the ball. And I mean, as long as Flacco's starting, he's going to be a pretty nice flex play. Michael Penix, he looked pretty good against a feisty Tampa Bay D. Like, he'll be in the streaming conversation. I'll rank him as probably a mid range QB2 going forward. But, I mean, he has some good weapons. He has another weapon in Darnell Mooney coming back. And, I mean, against easier defenses, he's definitely in the streaming conversation. So Hunter Henry, I had him as my sleeper tight end this year because Drake May loves him. He loved him last year, and he showed that again in week one. Like, he could turn out to be an every week starter, just like a low end tight end one that you can kind of set it and forget it. Also on the same team, Kayshon Boutte, like, it won't always be this sort of target share for him, but he looked like the best Patriots receiver Sunday. Like, I could see him being the target leader for this team at year's end and a decent flex play. And Harold Fannin, I would really only pick him up if you're desperate at tight end. I mean, Fannin had a nice game and looked good, but Njoku is still the starter, and they have a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. Like, he's gonna be a tight end too most weeks. So yeah, really only if you're desperate there. Calvin Austin the third. They've been talking him up all offseason, and he looked electric on Sunday. This is still going to be a methodical offense, and they may not score that many points again this season, but he's a nice stash to play during bye weeks. All right, so week one is out of the way. We laughed, we cried, we confirmed our priors. Let's move on to week two.
Every game, every player, every week. Let's tap in.
All right, it should be the second nice Thursday game in a row. That might be like a record or something. The Washington Commanders versus the Green Bay Packers. I'll start with Washington. Jaden Daniels, a pretty ho-hum game for him after they sort of took their foot off the pedal in the second half. Still finished with over 20 fantasy points against that nasty Giants D-line. Like, I don't love that he had to rely on Deebo Samuel as much as he did, although Deebo did seem a little more spry than last year. They're in Green Bay in this one, and you saw what that defense did to the defending scoring champs and the Lions. Like, this game script should be better for Daniels, as they probably won't just be sitting on a lead in the second half, but this Packers defensive line, I mean, just played lights out. Like, he's an every week starter, obviously. This is a pretty tough matchup, though. So I think for the running backs, this matchup favors Austin Eckler rather than Bill Krosky-Merritt. Bill looked good in his 10 carries, although it remains to be seen two things. Like, how good he is after contact in the NFL, and can he play on passing downs? So he caught 7 passes in college. All of college, he caught 7 passes and didn't play passing downs in the preseason or week 1. Also, he had pretty large holes, so he wasn't credited with any broken tackles. So we'll see how he does against a defense that just held the Lions to 2.1 yards per carry. Like, with the Packers favored, Eckler looks like a sneaky good PPR play with this week. Just look at the 10-catch game from Gibbs last week to see why. Deebo Samuel had a throwback game with 10 targets and a 19-yard rushing score. Like, I haven't watched the All-22 yet, but I think that had a lot to do with McLaurin still kind of working into the offense after holding out of camp and just trying to get the ball out of Jaden's hands quickly with the Giants pass rush. He'll be a flex play this week, but he should get some more designery touches, especially with this defensive line wreaking havoc. With Terry McLaurin, I'm still kind of in show me mode. Like, there's too much of just a crappy history with guys sitting out of camp. So I'm seriously downgrading him in week 2. Like, if you can sit him in this matchup, I would. Zach Ertz was actually the second leading target earner in week 1 for this team, but he's still a matchup dependent streamer with just how non explosive he is. Like, I could see him catching 5 balls in this game, but he's going to disappoint without a touchdown. Like, those 5 catches could be for 30 yards or something. I have him just outside my top 12 tight ends, but he's a nice pivot if you're the George Kittle owner. All right, in Green Bay, Jordan Love was very good in real life football, but the game script just let him down. Like, he only threw the ball 22 times because they basically sat on the lead in the second half, but he led the league with 7.2 air yards per attempt. Like, I'm not sure you can live that way every game, but he just looked super poised and confident. Like, he now has the best set of pass catchers he's ever had. You just have to hope the Commanders keep up with the Packers, because if they're up 2 scores in the second half again, it's going to be another low yardage total for him. So Josh Jacobs is an every week starter, and nothing in week 1 takes away from that. He didn't wow anyone. His usage is still elite. Like, he had an 86% rushing share and an 88% snap share. So you can obviously be confident in him this week. So in the receiver core, here are the snap leaders in week 1. Romeo Doubs, 34. Matthew Golden, 23. Dontavian Wicks, 22. Jaden Reed, 18. So Dobbs is their every snap X receiver, and he looked good in week 1. He's solidly in flex territory. Golden played in 2 receiver sets, but was taken off on running plays. That limits him, and he's going to be like a boom-bust borderline flex play going forward. Jaden Reed is in the same bucket, being a slot-only option for them. He's going to have more bust than boom weeks. And really, Dontavian Wicks profiles the same way. He's more of their outside receiver, but he's a borderline boom-bust flex play. They're all heavily dependent on the game script. Like, if the Packers are in a tight game or losing, they could get Jordan Love would have to pass it more, and they could get a lot more just routes. All they need is routes, and that's tough to predict. So Tucker Kraft, put all the receivers to shame with his 44 snaps, and he had the most routes run on the team. The box score wasn't anything crazy. It was 4 targets, 16 yards, and a touchdown, but he could legitimately be the number 1 option in the passing game for the team. Like, I'll be ranking him at the very least top 8 among tight ends every week going forward. So if you leave the show a review, I'll personally guarantee your kicker won't miss this week. Okay, I can't guarantee that, but still, leave one. Okay, I hope you got something useful out of this analysis, but that's going to do it for this episode of Tap Into Fantasy. If you liked what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the show find other degenerates like you. Hit me up on X at LG_fantasy. Thanks for tapping in, and until next time, happy pours, happy scores.